Hello and welcome to more photography with the Canon R5 and the RF 100 to 500mm lens. My name's Barry Beckham. So I've stepped out of my comfort zone again to try my hand at shooting birds. But the good news is I'm getting results, so I must be doing something right. Let's take a look. A friend of mine recently said that the timing of when we get to our location can often be far more important than our settings or our technique. And he's right. So it's 6 AM at Yandina Creek wetlands. There was just me, my photo pal Rick, and about 3 million mosquitoes. I've set my birds in flight settings to a custom function on the Canon R5. It allows me to switch to those settings very quickly. So what do I have set? The first of those settings is the ISO. I'm going to start with 400, but I would be prepared to go much higher if necessary. It's much better to have a sharp image containing some noise than a blurred image which is noiseless. I'm using servo continuous focus while the button is pressed, of course, and in my case that's the AF on button on the back of the camera because I'm using back button focus. I've set the drive mode to high speed continuous plus. On the R5 there's two high speeds and the plus is the faster of the two. Aperture priority is my chosen shooting mode. On the touchscreen on the back of the camera, very easy to get to all of the selections you're going to need. Just touch the Q button. On there I've selected a focus option of large zone horizontal. I need to keep that over the flying bird, and while I've got my button pressed, the camera will focus on whatever is within that frame. All of these settings are applied to custom function 3. A quick word on back button focus that I have set on my Canon R5. This transfers the camera's focus from the shutter button on the front of the camera to the autofocus on button on the back of the camera's body. Now there's very good reasons to do this, and many wildlife photographers use this option. Get more detail on why and how to do this via the video that I've linked to below. Now there were lots of small birds around at that time of the morning, but few were prepared to show themselves at a very nice angle and stay put just long enough for me to locate them among the foliage, focus and fire. In fact, I had to reset my focus settings to a single point so I could get focus on the small birds and not the leaves which were gently moving in the breeze. Now in these situations we have the drive set to fast. So we have to accept that many images will be failures, but that's quite normal with this style of photography. Not always due to any error we make, but we'll certainly make some. Our technique can be perfect, but we could still go home with very little to show for our efforts. It's the nature of wildlife photography. Now as you view this picture, you can appreciate why I had to change the focus to that single point mode, so I could segregate the bird from the foliage. But here's the thing. You'll notice that the more you do this, the luckier you get. I had many failed images from that morning, and you've seen a few. But did you notice that all the birds were sharp and well exposed? So even if I captured nothing worth showing that morning, it was still worth the trip. If we can get great focus on 99% of the birds and good exposure, then the only ingredient missing is patience, and we've gained a fair degree of confidence. When we got down to the lake, we only found two birds in residence, a spoonbill and an egret. The bigger the bird, the easier it is to get good focus on them, but the Canon R5 certainly helped there. I reset my focus back to that large zone horizontal setting, and we were in a hide at the end of the track. Now at some stage the birds are likely to fly, but if you've been lucky enough to get quite close, remember how much space you're going to need within the frame when a large bird spreads its wings for takeoff. At some stage, consider zooming back a little if you're in that sort of scenario, and then you just need to be focused and prepared. Now I have a bit of a confession to make. I'm a very impatient person, and it's why I said earlier that I'm out of my comfort zone. But if I can get results, anyone can. There's no mystery, it's just solid photographic technique. And some patience, and perhaps one or two birds willing to pose. And one thing to remember with the Canon R5 is that we have 45 million pixels to play with. So we can crop the images and still end up with quite a lot of pixels left. I'll see you next time.